because I wanted to teach you various things whilst I put you to sleep. So if you can't sleep, at least you learned something interesting. Tonight I'm going to teach you about different models. We're going to learn about the medical model, the universal model, the social model, the tragedy model, and the identity model. So, 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 what then is a model for disability? A model for disability is a mode for defining and understanding disability. Each model entails a different way of thinking about the experience of being disabled, as well as the people who are disabled within this model. So then why should we learn about this? Because the ways we think about and talk about disability have implications for disabled people. Understanding these implications can make you a better citizen. So then, what are these models? The models I am going to talk about tonight are the medical model, the social their symptoms. This model is individualistic, and it puts the responsibility for a person's disability on the disabled individual and their doctors. So I just said that the medical model does not see a difference between disability and impairment. What is the difference between disability and impairment? An impairment is a problem, or limitation with a body part or one's mental capacities, such as a broken arm. A disability is a functional limitation based on an impairment. For example, a person with a broken arm may not be able to drive a car. They may not be able to write. They may not be able to work certain jobs. They may not be able to carry a box, etc. What are some ways the medical model is used? An example is a person with poor vision in a classroom who cannot see the board. Within the medical model, this student is expected to go to see a doctor to get glasses or receive LASIK eye surgery or contact lenses in order to see it. There are other ways that this person could be made able to learn that are not covered by the medical model. For example, the teacher could write bigger on the blackboard, or they could be moved closer to the board, or they could change to a type of class that does not require the use of a blackboard for learning. Another example of the medical model being used is the example of a person with an injured hand. Within the medical model, this person should go to see a doctor to restore the function of their hand. The next model I want to teach you about is called the universal model. The universal model sees disability as a natural result of human diversity. In this model, all people, all disabled. Unlike the medical model, unique physical and mental limitations are seen as normal and healthy. They're not seen as extreme or anomalous. They are normal parts of life. Conditions including being young, giving birth, and getting old can limit people and their abilities. Every person in the world has something that they cannot do or cannot do very well. Within this model, everyone, with the exception of omnipotent beings, is disabled. This model posits that society should create structures that can accommodate the full diversity of human needs. The full diversity. The full diversity. The full diversity. The full diversity of human needs. This way of thinking is very different from how many bureaucratic structures view disability in the USA. Here is an example. This is a photo of an elevator that is designated for ADA use. It says, "For ADA use only. Please contact the building manager before using." This means that only people who have a disability that can provide documentation for are able to use this elevator. Within the universal model, anyone who would benefit from the use of the elevator should be able to use it. Whether that's a person whose legs are sore from doing leg exercises, or a parent with a stroller, or a person who's really tired, or a person on crutches, or a parent with a kid in a stroller, or a person with a wheelchair, or a person with a prosthetic leg. All of those people would be allowed to use the elevator because all of them would benefit and it would accommodate as people who do not have insurance to get a diagnosis from a doctor, as well as people who have acquired disabilities very recently and haven't been able to see a doctor yet, and people whose disabilities are not taken seriously, such as people with sleep disorders, mental illnesses, and hidden disabilities. The next model, 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 the next model. The next model I want to teach you about is the social model of disability. The social model of disability sees disability as caused by society. People with disabilities in this model are viewed as a minority group who face structural oppression. For example, a poor building design. This includes people with disabilities. This can isolate people within their communities. What does this mean? As we saw before, all people have limited abilities. However, our society is built to accommodate the limitations of some of those people, but not others. For example, the majority of people do not have night vision that is good enough to drive a car in the dark without lighting. Cars are required to have working headlights that accommodate most people's limited night vision. So, if a person has night vision that is not able to be accommodated by the headlights and streetlights, and therefore cannot drive a car in the dark, this person has a disability because the accommodations that they require are not automatically in place for them. What are some examples of the social model? One example is of a baby who cannot walk, who is not considered disabled. This is because society does not have structures that require babies to walk on their own. Their mobility needs are supported by the adults around them. However, an adult who cannot walk is considered disabled because our infrastructure is not designed with them in mind, and their mobility needs are not supported. Many buildings have stairs, which are designed for people who can climb stairs in mind, but not people who can scale walls. Those people are not considered disabled in this way. But a person who uses a wheelchair and cannot climb as a social category. This model considers the social factors that affect a person's ability to navigate the world and society. Certain populations are better accommodated than others, like I described in the example of the people who can climb stairs and the people who can see with the help of their car's headlights. Conditions outside of ability, including wealth, social status, race, and gender, all contribute to how well a person's conditions are accommodated. Within this model, a person can become less disabled as accommodations to their needs become more available and more commonplace. For example, a person who cannot drive a car becomes less disabled when they live in a city that does not have car-dependent infrastructure. For this reason, car-dependent infrastructure is a disability rights issue as well as a climate justice issue. This begs the question then, if disability is due to a society's failure to accommodate a person's needs, couldn't any minority status be considered a disability? The answer is generally yes. Under the social model, when a society fails to accommodate a certain group's needs for housing, justice, education, employment, and any of their basic needs, this can be thought of as a disability. The next model I want to teach you about is called the charity/tragedy model. The charity-tragedy model sees disability as a tragedy, and disabled people are the victims of unfortunate circumstances. The next model I want to talk about is the identity model. The identity model sees disability as a part of a person's identity. This model is considered the most positive model because it celebrates disability as a part of a person's identity. The celebration of disability identity often allows disabled people to feel greater acceptance and connect to larger disability communities. People who subscribe to this model may celebrate Disability Pride Month or hang disability pride flags. We celebrate Disability Pride Month in July. We celebrate